welcome into this In the Spotlight on Wrestling Spotlight. Today I am joined by the stiff Robo Ginger. You can find him on Twitter, on X, unsigned and doesn't care, Gary J. And Gary, hey, thanks for joining us here on Wrestling Spotlight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hope you're having a good night so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, our friends, the Kansas City Royals, made it a little bit harder. I was at the game last night covering it, and it started out a little bit rough as we're recording this from Kansas City. We're on Wrestling Spotlight. You can get it on sports.tv, download the True TV Plus app, or visit the website at wrestlingspotlight.live, and you can link right to the channel there. And Gary, I wanted to get you on because I became familiar with you when you were working in Central States Wrestling, and I was glad to see you on the roster of Fountain City Pro. Got a little bit of a feud going against Anakin Murphy that looks like it's going to be settled up at Fountain City Pro's next show coming up on October 18th at the Ball Event Center in Olathe. I know you and Anakin have quite the history with each other. How did this all come about? And can you get into a little bit about what's been going on in Fountain City Pro? People that watch Wrestling Spotlight have seen the previous two shows and got an idea of, what's going on in the dispute, but I wanted to get your side as well.
My side, it's a very love-hate relationship. Pulling the curtain back, Anakin is pretty much like my little brother. In all reality, he started in the business and he was treated very, very poorly. He was treated because he was smaller that, eat a sandwich, you're not going to make kid, this and that. And that's not how I approach things. I kind of took him under my wing and took him with me. We travel everywhere together. Like there's no doubt you can deny that. So like, I'm not going to lie. But, we hate. No, not the case at all. People aren't idiots. Like they know the truth. They know that we're very, very. So the thing with everything down in Fountain City is like, it's more of a respect thing. Like he's always wanted my respect, and to a degree, I respect him, but he's got to realize that there's like levels to this, and he's climbing the ladder. He's getting to where he needs to be, but egotistically speaking, he's not at my level. And like he wants that win. He wants to beat me so very badly. And so far through all the battles all over the country with him, he's never beat me before. So, and that's not going to change either. But now you throw the stipulation of no holds barred. Now we can go absolutely insane and go ham, as I say, and do whatever the fuck we want.
And we'll see if the student can become the master in classic martial arts terms. That's going to be one of the big matches at Fountain City Pro. But hey, you mentioned something that I wanted to ask you about, because this is something that I've seen with a lot of the wrestlers that we've talked to here on Wrestling Spotlight. Body type, style. That used to be the dominant key to making it in pro wrestling, right? You needed to be 6'3", you needed to weigh 240, you needed to look like you were cut out of stone. That isn't what it takes to make it anymore. Is it still a stigma for somebody that's not, 6'2", 230 to get going, to get traction? Because you and I have both seen lots of people make it that don't fit that mold of the Rick Rude, the Scotty Steiner, the genetic freak. That's not really needed to be a successful pro wrestler anymore, is it?
No, not at all. And so many things have changed or evolved. It is 2024. I almost said 25. It's 2024. So like, I think you should be in ring shape. What you look like should fit what you're doing in the ring. Like, not everybody's gonna like Brock Lesnar. I wish I was Lesnar, but I don't. Not everybody's gonna be the size of Diesel or the Undertaker. Like, but and the other side of the coin is like, not everybody looks the same. Not everybody needs to be a carbon cutout of each other. So like, it's okay to have smaller people in the ring, because obviously I think it's more believable. Look at the best
Mhm.
of all time, in my opinion, and I'll argue tooth and nail with it. Shawn Michaels,
Yeah.
best professional wrestler ever, in my opinion. He's not the biggest guy. He's about 6'1", and he's in good shape. But
Mhm.
back in the early '90s and mid '90s, he was your guy because the Hulk Hogan's and the bigger guys went to WCW, brother. Like so,
Yeah.
like they went over there, and then they had to do something else. And then you have Bret Hart, you have Owen Hart, you have 1, 2, 3 Kid. Uh, Mankind is a great example of someone who is probably in the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling in my mind, if not number 2 on my list of goats, the greatest of all time. And
Sure.
he, obviously a little bigger, but he was such a good character. And Mick Foley overall can wrestle. He can work. He can tell a story.
Mhm.
So the stigma of you got to eat a sandwich and you got to get on the gas and you got to look like this and that, that's over. Like, thank God, because we don't need that. Not everybody needs to be the same. The cool thing about wrestling, it's like ice cream. There's so many different flavors. There's so many different characters. If you don't like one thing, I'm sure there's something else on the show you're gonna like. Just change the channel. It's
Yeah.
simple as that. So not everybody needs to look the same anymore. Not everybody needs to act the same anymore. So I definitely think like the stigma of like being the size of Brock Lesnar. By the way, I love Brock Lesnar. Not picking on him, but he's just
Mhm.
jacked. Brock Lesnar.
Sure.
Being that size, you don't have to be. And even people under contract nowadays aren't even that big. He's just like a super freak. He's like unhuman. He's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, the guys at the highest level in WWE and AEW. I mean, I'm 6 foot 220, and I'm bigger than a lot of the guys that are performing at the highest level. I mean, look at Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the best pro wrestlers of the last generation,
Yep.
and he's maybe 6 foot 200.
Yep. I mean, look, Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong has been a machine for almost 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that guy's still producing. And like I said, like if you're good at what you do and like you're good at every avenue in pro wrestling, you'll end up getting a job eventually. It just size doesn't matter anymore. As long as you are in shape and go to the gym and work on your conditioning or your physique, I think that's all that matters. Not everybody has the same physique, so like that's pretty cool nowadays. Because what a lot of people don't know is a lot of professional wrestlers, like you can ask them, have like this body dysmorphia to where just because they're jacked and they look great, they feel awful about themselves.
Sure.
That's real life.
Yeah, no, no, very true. Because you're never good enough, right? There's
Yeah.
always something that you need to do just a little bit more. Well,
Yep.
let me ask you, how did you get involved in pro wrestling? What got you started?
Uh, I've been a fan since I was probably 10 years old. And then, you go through those 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Like, I loved wrestling. That's all I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Or that's all I watched. I didn't know it was something I could actually achieve until I was about 15 or 16, where I was like, wait, there's this at like a level that's not on television? Because all I knew at that point was like WWE or WWF at the time, and then
Sure.
WCW, and then like I didn't know anything about the independent professional level or like anything overseas and like New Japan or anything in the UK. I was just a mid teenager, and then finally I stumbled across ECW in like 90 late 98 99, and then like I'm actually watching it right now. It's on my TV.
Yeah.
Changed my life. I was like, whoa, what is this like insane punk rock show or professional wrestling? Like I'd never seen anything like it. And then I find out that wait, you can train for this, like go to a school, it's like a trade. This is insane. So then I basically just stumble across some really horrible training, and that's where I started in 2003. And it is now what, 2024, so that's 21 plus years, I
It
think.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very long story, and I don't draw it out anymore because like it's so old and long now. Like it's just part of the journey, Like I would tell people all the time, the journey. It's the journey that I enjoy, not the destination. Because honestly, there is no destination.
No, that's true. Destination unknown.
Yeah.
Well, so since you got going and you've been wrestling in a lot of different areas based out of the St. Louis area, safe to say.
Yep.
So where's your wrestling home, and what areas do you feel that, okay, hey, this is stiff Robo Ginger country, this is my home turf? I mean, it could be Kansas City as well.
St. Louis is home. St. Louis Anarchy, and if you look at me up at all, you'll see my name all over it. St. Louis Anarchy is home.
Hmm.
I've been there since it was Lethal Wrestling Alliance, and then turned to St. Louis Anarchy. I'm day one guy.
Okay.
That is my crew. That is my heart. There's so much more on those shows that I do that don't involve me in ring. I love helping talent. I like guiding. I like giving people, the time of day that they deserve because they're doing something they love just as much as I do. So, like, St. Louis Anarchy is home. Kansas has always been great. I've always had a blast in Kansas. If it's not CSW, Fountain City, or Journey Pro when they were doing their thing, like that was home. Even way before any of that, you had Metro Pro, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So like, and then for that time period, you had the NWL, the National Wrestling Alliance or League.
The NWL, the National Wrestling League, which was a great idea. I think it was just a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah, you could dive into that because you see a lot of the early business models of what AEW was. That's exactly what that was. Like going to territory or town to town. You had the big Megatron / Majortron, as we call it, and like putting on shows. And then if you watch early AEW, it's very similar. And everybody like has a lot of heat in the business or gets a bad reputation, but I loved my time there. My character was different. Like, I loved everything about it. I got to learn television. I got to watch production meetings, learn camera angles. It was everything I loved. I loved the backstage aspect of professional wrestling as well. So like that's just a quick little deep dive into like what I thought of that. I loved it. A lot of people didn't like it and they'll trash talk it. There's no reason to. Like I was there constantly. Like my best friend who runs St. Louis Anarchy, Matt Jackson, not the Young Buck, but he was under contract to write a wrestling show every week. I thought that was great. It's like, dude, you're living your dream. That's your career, and he learned so much. And then he's got a lot of opportunities coming up now that I'm not going to spoil or say anything, and that could like possibly lead to even better things because of that job.
Sure.
So people that like on the outside were like, well, that's dumb. They changed everybody's characters and gimmicks, and they were doing like this and that. I was like, yeah, there was a lot there they could have done better, but there was so much at the time that they were doing right. And I'm always very grateful for the time I was there.
Yeah, I mean, they started from scratch and really kind of got up and running extraordinarily quickly. I mean, I really got back into pro wrestling during COVID period. Yeah. I'd watched it a lot. I used to do sports radio in Cleveland. I'd have on the WCW wrestlers when they'd come through on my show once a month, and loved it. I got to meet Sting, Steven Regal, a lot of the WCW guys. Got to go in and do some ring announcing. It was great, and then just kind of fell away when WCW went under. That was just kind of a dead period for me. And as it turns out, as I'm talking to more and more wrestlers, it was really a rough time. It was kind of a journey through the desert for the whole industry. And now everything seems to be opening up and really thriving. I mean, Anarchy has been going and doing a great job for years now. Glory Pro is doing a terrific job in St. Louis. The guys at Fountain City are putting on good shows. Central States Wrestling is going to get going again. Las Vegas is on fire with their pro wrestling promotions, and we have on Pro South and POW, UPW up in the UP just got on the local Fox station. So it's really hitting everywhere. What do you attribute that to? Because you've been in a lot of these territories throughout the country. Where do you see the growth being driven? What do you think was the thing that made the change?
Obviously, like before COVID, wrestling was really hot too on the indies, but I've been through the highs and the lows and the terribles of independent professional wrestling. Considering started in 2003, And
Yeah.
the Wild West back then. The internet was like very minimal,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good and bad thing. Like, so the Wild West, completely insane. Like, stuff that you'll never hear and never be able to talk about because of obviously the culture is a lot different now.
Sure.
So, like, watching independent wrestling grow from like Ring of Honor in 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like everybody loved that era in Ring of Honor. Gabe Sapolsky ran it, knew what he was doing, and he put on good, hard, in your face, smash mouth professional wrestling that I like love. That's my stuff. That's my bread and butter. I love it.
Uh-huh.
I wish it was still like that because in all reality, if Ring of Honor in that era was still around, I'd have a job. Like I would be there. No doubt.
Yeah.
You know. So I grew up, as a young wrestler watching that and watching these guys and then starting to get to know some of these guys and being on shows with these guys. And a lot of like the boom in wrestling now is because the internet in that aspect has helped. It hasn't really affected that because you can promote yourself, you can promote what you're doing, you can promote yourself as your character or your brand. So like COVID made people stop and realize that like, oh, there's no live shows. There's nothing going on. Oh, I got the internet. That's like a free promo. Like the
Yeah.
internet in that aspect is very positive because people could just put content out there to entertain or like, hey, don't forget I'm still here. I know we're all going through this bullshit together. So when COVID goes away and things are a little safer, well, I don't know if COVID went away, but like when we got better, living situations, because
Mm-hmm.
COVID's still a thing.
Yeah.
but
But the level of angst, I guess you'd say, is dissipated.
oh,
You got crowds again. You can go
yep,
out. There's treatments.
yep. So like all these things start happening, and then people are just like ready to go because they want to get out of their house. They want to go enjoy something. If that's a movie, going to the park, or professional wrestling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, there's professional wrestling in my town. I see this on TV. Maybe I'll go. I've been stuck in the house for fucking 6 weeks. So, boom. And then if you can bring your customer back, like, a return ticket sale is always a positive. So that's the promotion's job or the wrestler's job or anybody that's a part of the event's job. Like, then you have the boom of like what's happening now, or like independent professional wrestling is like amazing. So much stuff that's going on right now that like people don't even know about, but it's so cool because every town has their territory.
Mm-hmm.
Call it.
Yeah, it's really kind of a recreation of the old territory days.
Yeah, I still call everything territory like I was in those days.
Well, one of our analysts, the Man Eagle, Sonny Kane, he was a territory wrestler back in Mid Atlantic, trained with the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, and he's made that comparison, comparing what's going on now to those old NWA territories. And, you kind of see it coming together, and an organization that you're going to be in the ring with, GCW. They got a show coming up in St. Louis, coming up in November, St. Louis area. That's really kind of a modern version of the old NWA model, tying together a lot of the top wrestlers you see in the indie circuit.
Yep. GCW, I mean, for the most part, is the biggest professional wrestling company in the US. That's not like AEW or WWE.
Yeah.
So like, yep, they're gonna be at Pops November 15th, and like I think you just saw, and like I was announced for it Sunday night, Monday night,
Uh-huh.
one of those two. So that's definitely a big deal, and I think it's definitely a long time coming. Like, it's definitely, I think, well deserved for me to be there. I think I belong there, and like I can't wait to go out there and get my shit in per se, or like show people like, hey, I've been around for a while, but like I can do what I do very well.
Yeah, well, I've had plenty of people tell me you're not a experienced pro wrestler until you're a decade in. So,
Yeah.
20 years in, you're in your prime. Let me ask you one other thing I wanted to make sure I mentioned. There's kind of a collective, uh, a faction, if you will, of the unsigned and don't care. Tell me about some of the people you work with, and some of the people that you'd like to shine the wrestling spotlight on.
Unsigned Don't Care consists of Aaron Williams, who's from Ohio. He's a Cincy boy, Cincinnati area. That dude is pretty much like my brother. We are more than best friends. We've spent many days on the road together. We talk every day. He's amazing. He's an uncle to my child. Like, he's definitely a number one guy. Like, he's been there for a while for me. We've been there through everything together, personally and professionally. And he's amazing. He's someone who, if you don't know who Aaron Williams is, go check him out. He is an incredible professional wrestler. And on top of that, he can cut a great promo. He's a great character, and he adds to any show he's on. Like, and together, we're even stronger. And then, ironically, you add in Anakin Murphy, the young one. So, like, he's still leveling up and like getting to different levels. But I put my stamp of approval on that kid, because he was a smaller version of me. When I started, I was always told, get bigger, eat a sandwich, you won't amount to anything, this, that, and the other thing. Treated terribly. And when I saw that happen to him, I go, nah, this ain't happening on my watch. Like, you deserve to be here. You work harder than anybody, in this locker room at the time. You're out there, making towns, as we say. It's a joke, but it's true. Kids out there 3 to 4 times a week wrestling. Sure, is he making millions of dollars? Probably not. But he's getting those reps in front of an audience. So when he gets that call or he gets that opportunity somewhere on a big, like stage, he's ready.
Sure.
He knows exactly what he's doing. So those are my two guys, Anakin Murphy and Aaron Williams. And if you don't know who they are, definitely check them out. And if you want like YouTube links or social media links, just hit me up and I will send them all to you, because those two right there are like amazing. And I'm very, very picky about who I put my stamp of approval on, because to me, there's a lot of not so good wrestling out there. And I would never want to put my name on something that would bring my name down. Those two don't bring my name down. They bring value to my name. And I'm very proud of both of them.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been able to see Anakin over the course of, heck, 3 years now, and yeah, you can definitely see a growth in how he wrestles and just how he works the matches. He does do a great job and really brings a lot of energy to it,
Yeah.
which I think is the key, right? I mean,
Yep.
you gotta believe, you have to go out there and want to give it your all, and he definitely does that. I think that's the biggest bar to get over.
Yep. And like, both Aaron and Anakin both understand that, like, we're not wrestling for ourselves out there. You wrestle for your audience. Like, they buy the ticket and they pay you, basically, like, so, like, if you're not investing them, then why are they there? Just so you can get all your moves in and do cool shit, tell people, oh, I did this and this. Who gives a
Yeah,
shit? Go
got to have
actually
a reason.
emotionally invest somebody into your match and then come talk to me. So both Aaron and Anakin are amazing at that. Anakin, obviously, he hates the word underdog, but that's what he is. But he's not just your typical, I'm an underdog and get beat up. That kid fights very, very hard. Trust me.
Hmm.
Like, and the crowd invests in him, and like, they sing him to the ring. Helena, fucking My Chemical Romance. Like,
Yeah.
that. I watch that and I just makes me happy, puts a smile on my face. He's come a long, long way, and he's got so far to go in the business, per se. And like, I can't wait to see where he ends up. And then Aaron, a lot like myself, is someone who's been everywhere, done so many things, but yet neither of us have ever been on national TV, which is fine. So many people live and die by that contract or that like fact that I've never been on the big show. Who cares? If you pay your hard-earned money to see me, you're gonna get everything I have, no matter where I am mentally in my life, and sometimes, unfortunately, physically, because I will go out there. It does not matter, because once I'm there, there's no light, there's no off switch. The light switch goes off, as I was told. I go through that curtain, and you're getting Gary J. You're getting the Gary J. you booked. You're getting Gary J. you paid for, and the one that will go out there and entertain, regardless of what's going on. And that's what people pay their hard-earned money for. Like, you go to a wrestling show to get emotionally invested, enjoy yourself, have fun,
Hmm.
and not worry about your 9 to 5 job or like something that might have happened the day before or you're going through personally. Because you can just enjoy wrestling. That's what we all love it for. I love talking.
Absolutely.
wrestling. Like, I'll talk about it for hours still.
I can tell, yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, people watching this, and we're on nationally. We're on True TV Plus, on Sports.tv, on TCL Plus, every TCL TV, hit the plus button, and on Carbon TV. But people in the Kansas City area, you can experience the Gary J experience for yourself coming up on October 18th at the Ball Event Center with Fountain City Pro. And then shortly after, just a couple weeks after, October 29th, Journey to Anarchy comes to Overland Park. So a couple of shows in the Kansas City area. Good to see some Kansas City based pro wrestling going on, because that is where we are based out of for Wrestling Spotlight. But Gary, I want to go to the championship round here. Got the Wrestling Spotlight title here. You're this week's Wrestling Spotlight champion in the spotlight. Just a few quick questions.
Absolutely.
Favorite opponent ever?
Oh, man. Can I have more than one answer?
Sure.
This happened actually almost a year ago to this day. Saturday will be a year. Dream opponent, and it was like a dream. Masato Tanaka was the guy on my list, and I got to wrestle him last year for St. Louis Anarchy. It's on YouTube for free on St. Louis Anarchy YouTube page. So that's the top of my list. Masato Tanaka is my probably favorite opponent ever. But there's also like your Aaron Williams. Yes, we're best friends, and like we're in this group together. But just like me and Anakin, anytime I work with Aaron Williams, either in a tag or on his side or against him, it is definitely going to steal the show. And he's another guy, like I'll talk about him all day. Like he's just on a different level. He's on his own planet. He'll legit tell you that he's legit on his own planet. He's so talented, and he pushes me to the point where I didn't think existed. So like, there's Masato Tanaka, there's Aaron Williams. I love fighting Anakin Murphy. Davey Vega is another one on the list. He's Journey / Anarchy. He'll be there at I believe he's
he's going to be there.
Yep. Sometimes I'm put on the spot and I forget names, but like those three, like right now, the top of the list.
How about a dream opponent? If you could wrestle anybody in pro wrestling, who would it be?
If it would be right now, I'll say two. One, people are gonna be like, "Yep, that makes sense." Eddie Kingston.
Sure.
And then the other one, since I'm really good, big '90s wrestling fan, 1-2-3 Kid.
Okay, and get well soon, Eddie. That's
yeah.
Terrible injury, man. The guy was at the peak of his career, but I know he'll be back.
Oh yeah.
Man, that was a rough go though. Both legs.
Yeah.
Favorite place to wrestle? What's your favorite venue?
Obviously St. Louis Anarchy's home, so the Spalding Hall, and then actually the second would be in West Hampton. Or was it? It's called Grind. It's out in the East Coast. It's
okay.
It's in the Massachusetts, Hampton, Massachusetts, I think. Sometimes CTE. Like sometimes I forget. That's my second favorite place to go. They are very, very up my alley with what they do, and like they're all over social media too. Just look up Grind Puro. They're all over YouTube. They're on Twitter. They run shows. Great crew. They've become like my second home family, like on the East Coast. So those are the two places.
Okay, awesome. And with that, we'll wrap it up here for this edition of Spotlight on Wrestling Spotlight. Gary J, the Stiff Robo Ginger, he's going to be here at Fountain City Pro. It's the trilogy against Anakin Murphy coming up on October 18th. You can definitely get tickets to go see that. It's at the Ball Event Center, super conveniently located in Olathe, and then back on October 29th with Journey to Anarchy as Anarchy makes its return to the Kansas City Metro. Gary, hey, thanks a lot for joining the Spotlight here. Really glad to have you on and make you this week's Wrestling Spotlight champion.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Have a great night.
Absolutely. And stay tuned to Wrestling Spotlight for more. You can see action from promotions like Glory Pro, like POW, like Pro South, and UPW right here. 100% free, 24/7 at Wrestling Spotlight TV, and visit the website wrestlingspotlight.live. You can get the channel on any smart device.